Hello my friends, welcome back to our channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you about how I got these little fluff balls all the way to England from Canada. And I'm telling you, this was a process. If you're new here, you may not know, my name is Nicole. I am a Canadian that now lives in England, and I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And it was never a doubt in my mind that I wanted to bring these two fluff balls with me, but oh my goodness, it was a journey. So with that, let me get into this video, but I would love if you took the time to consider subscribing to this channel. I typically post videos here with me and my husband. I talk about homemaking, or I show you my new life here in England. But yeah, I've had so many questions about this whole process, especially if you found me from this video right here. And yeah, I thought it would be a lot more efficient to just sit down and create a video. So with that, let's get into it. So the first thing that I think needs addressing is that you cannot bring an animal into the UK from North America unless you have brought it in through their carrier service. So there are different brokers that will sort out all of this for you, so you're not having to call and get the arrangements and do all of this. However, there is a service that will take the animal, and that is James Cargo. So they're not like a nanny. They're not going to take care of your dog. It's just the like who you pay. They get the dog onto the plane, but they're not taking care of the dog. So it was really hard for me to grasp, and I say dog, it could be a cat, you could be moving a ferret, I'm not sure, but it was really hard for me to grasp what am I paying for if you're not like a nanny taking care of this dog. But just know there is no way around this at all. At least getting your dog like into England or like into the UK. You might go other routes. I'll briefly touch on that, but like if you want to get a direct flight from Canada to the UK, you have to use something called James Cargo, and basically your animal is not going to come on the plane with you. Get that out of your head. I want you to completely get that thought out of your head. They will not come on the plane with you. They have to go underneath, and they have to go cargo with Air Canada through James Cargo. Again, there are going to be separate brokers. Like think of it this way. You know how when you buy a house, and you might get a mortgage with CIBC Bank, but you went through a different broker that shopped around all the different banks for you. Like there's a broker for this service, but it has to go through like James Cargo. The broker will help facilitate things, but you're still going through James Cargo. Hopefully that makes sense. I believe depending on what airport you fly into, this might be a little bit different, but I know if your dog is coming, or your cat is coming, or your ferret is coming from Canada to London Heathrow, James Cargo, and you cannot get around it. So I hope I've stressed that enough, because obviously if you looked into this and you've seen the price of James Cargo, you're probably dying inside, and yeah, you can't get around it. Now, everything else that I want to talk about is mainly going to come down to the timing of things and what needs to be done. Now, if you're watching this video, you might have to do something different. Maybe the rules changed, maybe the laws changed. I'm not sure. I'm going to walk you through what I had to do, or thank God my brother did for me, but it was a process. So first things first, you are going to have your animal vet checked. So my dog, believe it or not, had never been to the vet besides when I bought them. So my dogs were healthy. They didn't really have a reason to go to the vet. They didn't have problems, so they never went to the vet. So right when I was looking at moving over to England, I had to then introduce them to a vet, take them to a vet, get them vet checked, etc. And so they had all the shots and paperwork that I needed in order to make this transition process a little bit smoother. So a little bit of backstory, my brother ended up watching my dogs for a lot longer than expected due to the cost of this, whereas my brother was just supposed to watch my dogs for like a couple of weeks. I came here beforehand, and then my brother was just going to take them to get this like appointment and then put them on the plane. 6 months later, they got here. So yeah, first thing you're gonna have to do is get them vet checked. Now, I believe when they get vet checked, they're going to have a microchip, and you're gonna have to make sure that that microchip is like registered to you. My microchip for the dog was not registered to me. It was still registered to the breeder. So yeah, make sure that you do that. Then you will also need to make sure that they have their rabies shots within, I believe, 3 months of when they fly. Now, the thing that ended up making this an insane process process was obviously the cost of it. I had 2 dogs, and I'll be honest with you guys, it was cheaper for me to get a larger crate for the 2 of them as opposed to 2 smaller crates. But depending on what kind of animal you have, you might want to look into this. But yeah, some people said, oh, I was afraid to put them in the crate together because what if they started fighting when they were afraid? My dogs always need to be like touching each other. They have separation anxiety from one another, so I knew it was going to be okay to have them in the same crate. Now, what I believe the rules are for them in a crate is they need to be able to stand up and have like 2 or 3 inches above their head. They need to be able to turn around, and then the crate has to have holes in it. I can't remember the type of crate that I had, but it was the wrong type of crate. And then one of my family members who dropped the dogs off at the airport had to go to Walmart in Edmonton just before this flight and buy a whole new crate, which is down. And I've never used it since. So yeah, I almost, if you're wanting this like process to go like super efficient, I almost would like call them up in advance and ask them, is there a brand of crate that you recommend? You know, can I send you and can I email you a picture for you to check to see if I have the right type of crate or the type of crate I was thinking about buying, because it was expensive and it just added to the forever growing list of cost for this process. Now, the other thing that made this a little bit more tricky is that the dogs have to get a worming pill and signed off on their paperwork. I can't remember if it's like 2 days or 5 days before the flight, but I'm pretty sure it's 2 days before the flight. That then only gave whoever was taking my dogs to the airport 1 day to then go and get this paperwork signed off on from, I believe it's DERFA. So basically you have to go to this vet visit and then you have to get an appointment with DERFA, and there's going to be different locations in like whatever city you're in. Watch, I'm like saying this wrong. I have a whole blog post I did on this when this was all fresh, but just know you're gonna have to go to the vet visit and then you're gonna have to go somewhere else. The time that you have between the vet visit and the next place is like little to none, especially if you're working a job. So basically what happened was I think my brother's girlfriend took the dogs to the vet the day before, and then the next day my brother had to go and like get this paperwork sorted. So the dogs didn't have to come with him to the paperwork appointment, but it just left no time. And then this paperwork and stuff couldn't be signed off on more than like 5 days or 2 days in advance. I think this is what it is. I think that the dogs could go to the vet 5 days of the flight, but this paperwork couldn't be signed off on more than 48 hours before the flight. So just due to the timings of everything, it was just like a nightmare. Honestly, it was so stressful. Now, the first time we went to do this process, they went to the vet. They were just about to get the paperwork. My dog jumped off a bed and then ended up having to go for surgery. And so we had to do this whole process again. And I believe the pills, the deworming pills, they can only take it once within a certain time period. Never mind, obviously he just went through surgery, so it wasn't like super safe for him to fly right away. So it was honestly a nightmare. Now, the next thing that I will say is make sure that your vet double, quadruple, triple checks the paperwork. I know that wasn't in order, but make sure that they do that, because they filled out the paperwork and then just when they were going to sign off on everything and they were having that last appointment, and this vet was amazing, they noticed that there was something wrong and they were calling me, and I was at work and like my brother was stressed out with the whole situation of it all. So yeah, make sure that you go through the paperwork. You almost want to be qualified to do this paperwork, because if something's missed, then they can't do this flight, and if something is missed, then you have to do the entire process again. The vet check, and you're getting a vet bill every time, then they're charging you for the pills every time, and then the time that you're going back and forth. And if you've gone ahead, if you've come to England ahead of your pet, someone is doing this for you and they will get angry. I'm gonna have the link listed for you guys in the description box about this, but I wanted to come on and tell you some of the things you for sure will have to do. And equally, I wanted to come on and tell you a little bit of like my experience, because it was not smooth. I have a whole blog post that is going to be exactly detailed for you, because I wrote it like days after my dog's getting here, so everything was fresh. But there's a few things that I do want to clarify super quickly before I wrap up this video. Your dog should not have to quarantine when it gets here, as long as all of this has been done properly. So really make sure that it's done properly. The next thing is that you can get delivery. So that was one of the things that I was worried worried about, because you don't get given an exact time of when the dog is going to come out of processing once it gets here. So just know that there is delivery options. Of course, that adds to the forever growing price, but if you think about it, like, especially if you're flying into like Heathrow, there's nothing really around there where you can like just go and hang out a bit. So you're gonna be paying a ton in what, parking fees and like tickets. You may as well just get the delivery. And the delivery, they got here way sooner than they said that they would. So it actually was really, really convenient. The last thing that I just want to clarify, because I'm sure some of you are going to be saying, oh, but you can do this. So I do want to clarify that you can actually fly out of the UK with the dog in the cabin, but you can't fly into the UK with the dog in the cabin. So yeah, don't get it, but you can't get around it unless you do this. So for me personally, it was not, I'm not here to judge anybody, but like for me, it was not responsible to risk my dog and getting my dog here in a cheaper way that was like a riskier way. For me, I would have rather paid the more, like the extra money. As much as you guys, I'm not even gonna go into how dire of a situation it was. Like this situation almost broke me, but for me, I may as well like give the dog away completely and make sure that it's safe, instead of like getting it here in an unsafe fashion. So also, I didn't know the lay of the land here. I don't drive here. I didn't know if my partner was okay with doing it in this way or driving a long way. But you can get around this, not to the UK, but you can get around this by if you get your dog flown to say Paris, or if you get your dog flown to Amsterdam or somewhere else in Europe, and then you drive with your dog over the ferry into the UK. So that is a way that you can get around it. I know people recently who they came from South America and they flew to Paris and then they got the Eurostar with their 2 tiny little dogs. There was no questions asked. There was nothing. For me personally, I feel good about the fact that I didn't risk my dogs going into quarantine, and I feel good about the fact that I know that they got everything that they needed to get in order to be here safely. That's another thing, is that some of the things that they vaccinate for over here isn't things that we have in Canada. So when the dogs got here, they had to quarantine in the house, in our house, for a month, and they had to get certain shots because I forget what it's called, but it's something to do with like fox poop. So yeah, I personally, if I ever had to do it again, I would just save the money and I would do it this way, the proper way, instead of flying them elsewhere. I know a lot of people have done it. There's a group called Canadians in the UK. I'll have it listed down below for you, and a lot of the people in that group, they have done it where they got their animal flown to somewhere in Europe and they went and picked it up from somewhere there and then they just drove back. But do you have a car here? Does the person that you're going to do this with, are they okay with driving? Are you okay with your dog potentially catching something or bringing something here? There's like a lot of things to consider. So yeah, that's how I did it. That's why I, you know, wanted to do it this way, even though it was extremely, extremely expensive. Anyways, my friends, that is it for this not so quick video. I hope that it has shed a little bit of light and clarity on the situation. I know that for me personally, when I was looking at the website, it was quite confusing. So I really just wanted to come on and tell you what was an absolute and a little bit of a story time, because I know I would have been a little bit more put at ease if I heard this story come from somebody, come from their lips, instead of just reading a UK government guideline website. So yeah, if there is anything else that you want to know about the moving to the UK process, the immigration process, do let me know. I'll try and answer it as best as I can. And if you have any suggestions for any other videos in regards to immigrating to the UK from Canada, do let me know in the comments as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've considered subscribing. This is going to be one of your last chances to do so, and I will see you in our next video. Bye.